Hey guys, and welcome back. We are back with All In. So 10 weeks without filming, which is very, very naughty from me and Harry. But we are back in now with episode 6. The best thing about this is going to be interesting because it's been 10 weeks of dieting. We're in a prep, obviously, as we know. So we are 10 weeks out from the first show of the season, which is going to be FitX up in Birmingham. And then 2 weeks after that, we have got the Devon show as well as. So interesting times, but this is going to be good because there's going to be loads and loads of updates, especially when we do a bit of posing afterwards. And actually, for the first time ever, this is a solo session. So it's just going to be me on the mic. And I just said to Harry, just behind the lens, that I'm actually a little bit nervous. What am I going to run out of things to say? We'll see. So I'll try and talk as much as I can throughout this, as well as whilst trying to also keep myself not fatiguing too hard, all right? But anyway, All In 6, let's go for it. I want you behind the desk, darling, because, come on, behind the desk, with Ronnie, good boy, good girl. In you go, come on. I'm only going non-stop, non-stop. I won't fold, I won't drop, until we on time. I'm only going non-stop. If you play me with me, do you believe in me? If you play me with me, do you believe in me? It's non-stop. So we've just done a little bit of warming up. So with legs, I just like to do a little bit of light stretching, active stretching a little bit. Then I'll probably go on to like an adductor, maybe a leg extension, just literally 15, 20 reps, just getting some blood flow in there a little bit. And then what we do after that is I go into my first big exercise, which is going to be an ab crunch, okay? I always train abs on a leg day, so I don't do it on a push day or pull day. The reason for that is I find they're not getting, firstly, it activates the abs for bracing. For example, when we go into a hack squat or a pendulum, we need to have this bracing element here, so it gets them nice and activated as well. And if I prioritize them right at the start of the workout, it means I'm not going to neglect them or forget about them, because after legs, you're pretty much battered. Sometimes you don't even have time to do you can't even be bothered to do calves. So if you've got a weak body part or you want to get it prioritized, make sure you do it at the start of your workout, okay? Easily can go quite wrong in an ab crunch machine. It's like, a lot of people think you go into a machine and it's just simple. Go on the machine, do the movement A to B. It's not as simple as that. We need to kind of learn where we're contracting from, as well as, I would say, go light with abs to start off with. You don't need loads of weight. And if you're actually engaging your core properly, you will feel it a hell of a lot. You'll be shaking like hell. So I say, get yourself firmly into the seat, plant your feet firmly into the ground, make that your stability point right at the bottom there, okay? Because if you're like all over the place, you're not going to be able to engage your core properly. So push into the ground, lower back into the pad, upper back into the top part of it. And the only part that we're trying to move now is our upper back crunching down. We are not gyrating at the hip. If you're going to gyrate at the hip, yes, you could move that weight stack quite easily, but you're going to have little to no engagement with your core there. So think of your upper back as if it was trying to literally curl in. And it's only a really, really small movement here. But if you do this well, and use a lighter weight, your core will be absolutely shaking by the time you get into your 10 to 15 rep range on here. I'm only going heavier on this because I've been running this machine for a very, very long time now, and I've earned the right to get up to 65, 75 on this.
We just try and make it through the winter. You and me looking for a spark. I wanna take you back to the beginning, but that ain't gonna change where we are. And we just trying to make it through the winter. You and me looking for a spark. I wanna take you back to the beginning, but that ain't gonna change where we are. We just trying to make it through the winter.
Bloody hell. Trying to hold on to numbers with little things like that. Like, so we're about 14 kilos lighter than when we first started prep 10 weeks ago. So obviously weight moves weight. So on something like that, we've got to be stable and crunch down. It does get harder, but we're still maintaining reps, so not too bad. Now I'm gonna go for a little bit of a lighter one and really, really concentrate on getting as much squeeze and contraction as I can. One day I'll be able to suck my own dick, I know it. We're now getting on to actual leg training. We've done our abs. I've had a big revamp in my leg training recently. So I had a knee niggle about 6 weeks ago where I couldn't actually walk afterwards, like from leg day. And I was really worried. I was like, this is prep over, like what's going on here? Luckily subsided after a couple of days, could like start walking again properly. And then I just had a revamp and I was like thinking, why is this happening? I think my form's good, like I train really, really well normally. But one thing I was noticing is I was chasing a load all the time. Like chasing heavy weight constantly and constantly doing progressive overload, trying to beat the logbook. So I stepped away from logbooking completely, revamped my training, spoke to some people outside in the industry that are very, very good at leg training, and got some points with like toes, putting pressure through and so on. And I took the weight back down and literally looked at everything, like my ham curl, my leg extension. Am I moving that weight to A to B, or am I contracting the muscle and moving it? There's a massive, massive difference. It's all good. Like, I was stacking that. I was putting 20 kilos on top of it as well as. Were my legs doing anything? Were they getting anything out of it? Was I getting DOMs the next day? I know it's not everything, but they weren't doing it. So I've gone half the weight and better control. And honestly, the DOMs I'm getting and the sensations I'm getting are unparalleled to what I've ever had before. And I've only noticed now in this part of prep, my legs have just come alive. They will do eventually, obviously, in prep, but for the first time ever, they're looking good, which I've always wanted. So with the leg extension, what I did to revamp this a little bit is I made sure that my ass is not coming out of that chair whatsoever. I'm pushing my hips so deep into this pad, and I'm just focusing on the quad extending here. The big problem is you'll see people get heavy on this, and then they're lifting it up with really heavy weight, and we've got all these hinges here, and what happens here is that hip hinge, they start coming out of the seat a little bit. So you're not actually moving it, you're kind of using a bit of momentum to move it. And recent studies have shown if you are literally getting any hip hinge on a leg extension, then you're naturally not working your vastus medialis and your legs that well. So what we want to really, really focus on here is making sure that we're glued in, okay, using minimal weight here and getting a really nice contraction and making sure literally all that is moving is the bottom of your leg, literally the bottom of the leg just moving. No hip hinge, nothing like that at all. I put my hands up, play my song. It's a party in the USA.
Biggest bottles, we need more of them. We need more of them. We need more. Look. Cruising in the foreign, plotting on a bag. Trying to be in first, but looking at my last. Talking to my partner, cause we trying to stack. Even if it's pennies, I'ma give them half. Look, everybody talk like they tryna do the work, but if you wanna plant a tree, you gon' have to move the dirt. My dad.
That's such a difference as well. When you do that right, you're feeling your quad, your rem fem, working the whole way up here. Instead of normally, when I'd find I come off it, be all around my knee joint, because all of that weight was just transferring into my joints, which is not good for the long term if you're constantly pounding weight. So now, half the weight that I was using, and my quads are on fire. If you want something to psych you up, something a little bit different from your normal music, because I've listened to everything. Listen to some classic, listen to a bit of Ludovico Einaudi, or some Hans Zimmer. Listen to that, close your eyes, visualize what you're about to do, think of what something means to you. In my head, all I'm thinking is 10 weeks, 10 fucking weeks. I do not want to look like an idiot on stage. It's my first time on stage. This means more than fucking anything to me right now. And I almost get emotional thinking about it, talking about it, because I've had so much shit this year, like, that could have stopped me off. Like this thing right here on my arm, all of these things. And this is for me now. For 3 years, I've literally focused on everyone else, building this. It's been brilliant, love it. But this right here, this first bodybuilding prep, is for me. And I shouldn't put this pressure on myself, but I do, because for my clients, prove my worth as a coach, prove my worth to the gym, for my partner, who's been so supportive the whole way through, for my family, mum and dad, who supported me through things, and for me, because I could have never imagined doing this when I was younger. Didn't have the balls, didn't have the courage to. So, if you want something, think what it means to you. Why are you doing it? Who are you doing it for? Is it just for your own mental health? Fuck it, go all in then. And that's what it's all about, going all in. Because if you want something, it's gonna be hard. You just need to go for it. This is the bodybuilding stage now, do you know what I mean? This is where you're pushing beyond what you would be classified as normal now, so. But I love it, I'm absolutely loving this prep. Like this prep, like last couple of weeks, it's become more to me than everything now. It's become a little bit emotional almost, just with everything that's gone on, like so much. And I'm really finding out about myself a little bit more, what I'm made of, how much things mean to me. And it makes me think about things for the future as well, like a bit more now. And yeah, just enjoying it. And I'm just reminding myself as well that this is a privilege to do this. I see so many people that fucking prep. They don't really shouldn't be prepping. And they like get such a bad association with bodybuilding, but they think they have to compete to symbolize themselves or value themselves in the fitness industry. Bodybuilding is the far right extreme of the fitness industry. And when you're doing this, like I said, it's a privilege. You're choosing to prep. You are choosing to do this. So if you're moaning, looking grumpy all the time and saying, oh, I hate this, I can't believe my coach is doing this and that, it's your decision. You can pull out any time, all right? Any time. But if it means something to you, you just get on with it. And I'm enjoying it and I can't wait till I'm 2 weeks out and I feel like shit. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to my head's a mess. I have to message my good mates like Dean, Jack, my coach Kev and say, look, I've lost my head here. I'm looking forward to it. Fucking let's bring it on. Let's bring the crazy. Right.
And we're looking for something that's not there. And that's not fair. Yeah, and that's not fair. Yeah. We just try and make it through the winter. You and me looking for a spark. I wanna take you back to the beginning, but that ain't gonna change where we are. And we just trying to make it through the winter. You and me looking for a spark. I wanna take you back to the beginning, but that ain't gonna change.
Seated hamstring curl. So very much like I said with the leg extension here, we are not going from A to B here. We're not throwing the weight. The biggest thing I see is when I see a form clip or someone in the gym, they're going so heavy on this, and all I'm seeing is their lower back arching and coming out of this seat here, and they're kind of like shifting forwards because this weight is obviously heavier than they are. So what do you think's happening here? Do you think we're using that hamstring to its best ability here? Do you think we're fully maximizing it? No. We're using force and momentum to move it. So I'm honestly gluing myself into that pad, and you'll see in my set in a second, I'm literally holding my arms together. So I'm not actually like pushing myself in. I'm literally just using solely my hamstring and bracing as much as I can. Another little tip as well is what we do is I find sometimes trying to get my legs over the top of this quite hard. So I will literally push this one down, miss a hole or two, just so I've got a little bit more leeway to get my hamstring over. If you've got tight hamstrings, this is great for you as well as, and it stops you having to use your body weight to shift it forward at the start, okay? Control the weight, don't let the weight control you. We are not, when you're trying to bodybuild and trying to build your physique, you're not a powerlifter, you're not a strongman, you're not trying to move as much weight as possible. We're trying to use the littlest weight as much as possible and getting the absolute most out of it, the most bang for buck from that weight. Love this side bench leg press. Relatively new edition, only had it like about a month or so. Really good, but what we're gonna do, there's no problem with it, but it's very hard initially. So when you're in that like lengthened range, when you've got your legs up here, it's heaviest because you're moving the weight from A to B. And then as we go through the movement and get into that contracted range, that shortened range, we're actually, it drops off quite a lot in weight. So I want to make sure that we have like an equal strength curve throughout this, like as well as we can. I don't want to have that massive drop off because what will happen is like we'll just be able to rep it out. I'll get through that initial hard part. I think it's easy. I'll just constantly rep it. So what I'm going to do to make this a little bit better is I'm going to put a band over the top of the sled and around here, just so as we do come out of that hole, like at this bottom, that band is going to give added resistance, so that we're going to have kind of a roughly equal strength curve with this and strength plane. So let's bring on the band. So we're now going on to that side bench leg press, like I said, put the band over it now. One thing I do with like, whenever I do like a hack squat or a pressing now, I go barefoot because I just want to get as much contact point as I can possible. I used to wear shoes and socks, even with socks, I still find it's not the right, I don't get enough grip. And when I'm pressing into this, I want to focus that I'm putting my weight through the center of my foot. And it's hard to do for a lot of people. It's hard to think, how can I put weight through my center? But I think what I say is put weight through your heel and weight through your big toe. And then that should equal into going to the central foot position and getting enough weight for it. I used to just press. And I think most of the time it would be going onto the side of my foot, like the crimp of it. And what would happen is I'd get like knee cave, I wouldn't feel so stable, and I just didn't get that much quad activation. Since I started doing this, taking the weight down, massive concentration of force going onto my quads here, which is exactly what we want, all right?
Fly in, had me writing, trying to be smart about how I should be moving through the minutia, but really it's a harder route. Dedication isn't easy, that's a quiet taste. And motivation is a vision of a higher place. Hope I make it before the day when the choir sing. For them chariots to swing, working like it's the only way. Build the business, make some money, make investments with it. After that you can bless yourself with the extras, nigga. Take notes on direction, see how the legends did it. Rest in peace to Nipsey for teaching us all the lessons. And then you can meet me at
You taste it like, I went into this thing on the weekend with my dad to see Bill Kazmaier, 3 times strongest man. Dad knew him from the 80s and 90s, so it was like a really cool day out with me and him. Never get to do anything like that. And I was speaking to him about mindset and like how he overcomes some of this stuff, because he wasn't designed to do powerlifting. He wasn't the biggest, strongest or anything like that, but his mindset was like, it's do or die. Like every rep, every set, every day, every time was all out, because he knew that there's one shot on this and there was guys with better genetics than him, and there's probably guys better with better genetics than me. That like pressure I put on myself, I need to just lock in, and like I said, like I close my eyes before that set and I'm just thinking about it constantly, how I'm going to do it, and I almost get, like I said, emotional now with it. I don't know if it's because of like where I am now, but the diet, but it just gets so locked in. Like I see people train, like, are you training with intent? Do you want to be good? If you want to be good, you're going to have to get there. You have to take it, you can't just walk into it. So I know I've got to outwork every motherfucker on that stage to do it. Yeah. So just to wrap up that solo session, I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit different, a bit more talking potentially in the camera. That was a really good leg day actually. I really enjoyed that. I was nervous prior to it, like I said, but no, it was really, really good. So that was number 6 racked up. We're just gonna do some posing now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do some rounds. I do this after every session. I use an app called Interval Timer, and I set like literally 20 seconds of holding a pose. So we're just gonna run through that now, go through all my mandatories, then yeah, do a couple of rounds and see if Harry can get some good shots of it. Shots of it.
What's best? What's next?